Cyd.
Oh, hi, Rocky.
God almighty, how long ago is it?
It's a long time.
Long time ago, since we were up in that dressing room. That was unbelievable, wasn't it?
I think the last time I saw you was at the party at Pinewood.
Oh, God. Oh, blimey, yeah. Yeah.
So how are you doing?
I'm all right, yeah. I mean, are you still working if you can?
Well, I'm too far away. We're down in Devon.
Oh, Devon. My daughter lived in Devon. She's just come out. She's up here now. She had a pub in Exeter.
Oh, right. That's not far away from us.
She's no longer there. She gave it up. It was too much hard work.
Yeah.
But lovely, Devon. I love that area.
It's beautiful. It's really lovely.
How long have you been down there?
34 years now.
34. Are you married?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Married with children?
3 children and 4 grandchildren.
God almighty. Are they doing judo?
No, all the kids had a go at judo because we both do judo. So, you know, they thought they ought to have a go, but they didn't really, they weren't bitten by the bug. So
no.
They were good. Swimming's their thing. They like swimming.
Do you remember when you started the Avengers with me?
Yeah.
I mean, was it 65 or 66?
Something like that. I've
just looked on the IMB and they're saying it started in 61.
Hang on, I'll have a look. I'll tell you in a minute.
The dates are out of my head.
Yeah, the series originally began in 61.
Yeah, 66.
Yeah.
You started in 66?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were probably a bit ahead of me.
I was. I mean, but not that much. That's what I'm trying to say. I went down to ABC and did the young ones in 61. And from the young ones, I went over to the Avengers. But you were just coming in then, so you must have...
Yeah, I came in when they went to colour.
Yeah, I did the black and white with Honor Blackman.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's with dates and things are out of my head, but you're looking well, dear.
Oh, thank you very much. Same to you.
How's your book doing?
All right, yeah.
Good girl.
Yeah, I've read yours.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't mention you, did I? I can't remember.
No, I didn't, no.
Sorry, it wasn't meant.
Well, you had other things to write about.
Well, exactly. Did you enjoy it?
Yes, thank you, I did. Yeah.
Good girl.
Yeah. I've mentioned you in mine.
Oh, you're a lovely lady. Are you still doing judo-ish?
On the fringes. I'm vice president of our local club.
Right.
But there's so much different now.
God, you look like Diana Rigg there.
Sorry?
You look like Diana Rigg there.
Oh, thank you.
You do. Great. You're great face. I mean, if I was stunt coordinator now, I'd have you as a double because you look like her. You do.
Thank you. Yeah.
More now than you did then.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what it's like. If you've got the right costume on and the hair.
Oh, yeah. Costume and the hat. I mean, once I put the hat and the cane on, I was steamed.
Yeah. Well, as you lot used to say, you know, they were our dialogue doubles.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we had a bit of fun, didn't we?
Yeah, so where are you living now?
I live in a place called Cobham, Cobham, in Surrey.
Surrey, yeah.
Yeah, very nice with my lady, Pamela.
Yeah.
And I've got 2 children and 4 grandchildren.
Yeah. I know.
The eldest is living in America and she's married to Dan Dark, who is the president of Warner Bros.
Oh, very nice.
I know, very big. Don't help me out. Doesn't help me out. Don't worry about that. But he is the president. He's in charge of Leavesden, Canada, and Japan. He travels around the world looking after the studios for MGM.
Very nice. Yeah. My daughter lives in Australia, so I don't see her very often.
Right. Tammy's son lives in Australia. My wife's son lives in Melbourne. He's a
right. Yeah, my daughter's in Perth.
Oh, that's miles away. That's up here. Down here, yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of isolated.
Closed. It's saying closed. Is that a thing? Pam? She's gone. It's saying battery's running out low. Is that
Yeah, I would
plug it in.
You need to plug it in, yeah. Oh, I'm sure we'll get him back. Yeah.
Ray Austin's joined, I see.
Hi, Ray.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, Ray.
Okay.
Can you hear us okay, Ray?
Okay. I've got you all now.
good?
Yes.
Raymond.
Brilliant.
Hello,
The
Raymond.
loveliest man in the world. One of my favourite stunt coordinators of all time. No, the only stunt coordinator. I remember, before you start, let me just give you a little bit of thank you very much for my life that you've given me.
I'd just like to say thank you very much for my life you've given me.
And thank you very much for my life that you gave me.
You've got the thank yous, Ray.
Thank you very much for my life that he's given me.
Can you hear it? Good boy.
Honestly, you choked me up. Honestly, you're
Well,
so.
listen, Ray, it's the truth. Because without you, we wouldn't be here.
Well,
True.
well,
You
know.
taught us. You taught us from the beginning.
Oh God.
Do you remember, Ray? I'm going to say to you one time quickly. Do you remember this bit with me when you said to me, Terry York was the double, and Terry York he had to hit bash and then thrown with someone pulled his arm and thrown across the room, bounce, 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 and hit the wall. And he went, I can't do that. You went, Rocky. Yeah, I jumped in and I did it for you. Do you remember that? And hit the wall.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I remember lots of things. I remember most things from. I'm lucky that I remember most things. You've got to realize, without the likes and the talent of you three and others like you, it made it work for me to take me where I got to, because you all made me look so good.
You've always said that, Ray. That's what I liked about you. You put us in front of you, which I loved about you.
Well, yeah, you never let me down. You never let me down. Or you, Paul. None of you ever let me down. You always made it look good on the screen. Especially Cyd is doing all my Diana Riggs crap and that. No, you helped put me out to where I am. You know, sitting here very happily.
I can remember one thing, Ray. One thing you said to me when we were out on location and you were coming to the end of your stunt career as a stunt coordinator. And I remember you telling me, Rocky, give this up and come to America. I said, Ray, what are you talking about? That must have been in your head that's where you were going to go. And I went, what is he going to, and you did what you said. And you left this industry, which missed you so much.
Well,
Yeah.
the industry's been so good to me, and I never forget my roots and everything. I mean, what I said to you that day happened to me on an aeroplane from Spain into Berlin. I sat next to the company were paying for the flight, so I was first class, and I sat next to a gentleman who told me that he was he made commercials. His name was J. Walter Thompson.
Right.
Yeah.
He said he was going to Dagenham to the Ford plant to talk about a commercial because they were thinking, Ford were thinking of using safety belts in their cars. And he said they'll be testing them. He said, you're a stuntman. He says, you should do some of that testing.
That's
So
right.
I gave him my number. And about 5 weeks later, I got a call to go to Dagenham to meet them and to take another stuntman. I took Les White. And Les White did 4 days testing seatbelts in cars, crashing them against the wall, doing side falling over a ditch into another ditch head first to test all these safety belts out. And the first ones we had were very much like they used to have in the Spitfires,
Yeah.
and not like we have now. And after we'd done that, to get to Rocky's story, J. Walter Thompson said to me, he says, stay in England. He says, you'll starve. Go to America, get out from behind the camera. He says, you'll be a rich man.
That's exactly the words you said to me.
I mean,
And you said, Rocky, you do the same. And I just signed for Steed. I mean, hang on a minute, Ray, give me a break.
oh God. Oh God.
I know.
You're all so wonderful. You really are. You really are. Cyd, also Paul.
Yeah.
You really, as I say, you made me look good every damn time on the screen. Because I still get the fan mail about the fights on the Avengers, and I say,
We did some great fight scenes, Ray. Great fight scenes.
But Ray was the one who designed those fight scenes.
I remember. Hang on, Cyd. I've got one more quick one that I remember, and I think it was Sid Hares was the director. I worked out a fight with you. I can't remember who it was. Another couple of stuntmen, Plummer, Richards, Joe Dunn, or something. And I had to knock out about 4 or 5 guys. And I went bum, 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 bum. And the Sid Hares come in and went, Ray, that's wrong. He went, what do you mean? He's been working on it for a week. We did about 3 or 4 days, rather, rehearsal. And Ray went, he didn't argue with the director. He went, you're right, sir. Rocky, yeah, come here. In the rehearsal room. We went, yeah, he went, boom, 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 finish. I went, is that it? He went, yeah. Come back in, show Sid Hares. Sid Hares went, that's fantastic, Ray. Exactly what I wanted. I mean, that's what Ray had. He could change a fight scene like that.
You got to think on your feet. You all did that though. You all became stunt.
Yeah, but it was down to you that we did it.
You know, it's just.
Yeah. I always remember Ray having alternatives.
Yeah.
That was the big thing. It was alternatives. And even when he got behind the camera and was doing second unit, he was still in control and had all alternatives.
Always, yeah. Absolutely right, Paul.
Great lesson to learn.
I had a thing which most of you used to know, and the directors used to know, especially Roy Ward Baker.
Oh, yes.
I used to show something, and I'd say, right, we've rehearsed it, and I'd say, right, let's show the director. He wants 1.5 minutes or whatever, and you used to do it. I used to look at the director's face and know if he liked it or not. So I used to say, or
exactly. You always had an alternative.
And I didn't, at that moment, I didn't know what the alternative was, but it was
No.
or. All right, Rocky over there, right, Paul over here.
Exactly. That was your great attitude, Ray, that you could change it on a split second.
Roy Ward Baker used to take that hat of his off, and he used to look at me and say, yeah, that's better.
You know that thing about when you talk to people, they go, what about, you never had that. You went straight into something and did it.
We're talking an awful lot about me. It's you guys that should be talking about.
Yeah, but Ray, without you, we wouldn't be here. Believe me, I'm not trying to be, I don't know what the word is, but without you, us 2, 3 would not be here.
Well,
and we've enjoyed a very good life.
I tell you, there's a lot that wouldn't be there, and who don't admit it.
Joe Dunn, bless him, Joe Dunn.
Yeah.
Greg Powell. I remember getting him his equity card for Nosher. Nosher asked me to get him his card.
May I stop you 1 second? I spoke to Denny Powell yesterday and told him what I was doing, and he went, please give Ray a big kiss.
Denny again was a good one. I mean, Denny worked with me like you all worked with me many times, not only on the Avengers. I mean, Denny worked with me.
He was a horseman, wasn't he? A horseman?
Oh yeah, he was with me on Tom Jones.
Yeah,
he was one of my horsemen on Tom Jones, and he worked with me at Danziger's. I remember at Danziger's. In actual fact, I sent Philip a photograph of Denny.
He did, yep.
Are we only talking to each other, or is there an audience today as well?
We have an audience with us as well, yeah.
Okay, for the audience benefit, let me just digress a minute. When as stunt people, you see us go through plate glass windows. Now, in a lot of times, if you've got a good big production, The people who were doing and building that set were called Waltham, out of Watford. They used to make sugar glass, but they used to make it in a refrigerated unit. But they could only make it up to a certain size. So if it got beyond that size, then you had to get a stuntman who would go through plate glass, the real thing, or picture glass sometimes. But if it was for an actor or breaking a bottle over someone's head, Walthams used to make sugar glass, but it had to be frozen. Now, we were at Danziger's, and we were doing a fight sequence in a pub. There was Denny, Nosha, Mo Kai Kai, Paddy Ryan, and
Gary Richards,
a few others, the originals. And I was going to get thrown through this pub window. And it was real glass because they couldn't make a sheet of glass, and Danzigers wouldn't pay to have it made because Danzigers were very mean people. But they gave us a lot of work.
yeah.
So we worked it out. I was going to get thrown through the window. Les White was the one who was going to hit me and knock me through the window. I Nosha. So I wanted, and Ernie Morris was the director, and they had another camera outside the window, and this was on the stage, to see me land. Well, I'm going through the plate glass. I know the glass is going to land before me. So I'm going to be landing on the glass, which I didn't want to do. It was too tasty. So then he said, don't worry. He said, I'll be walking by outside and you and the glass land on me.
Yeah, I thought he was going to say that. That's amazing.
So I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I'm just out shopping. He said, and I'm just walking past the window. He said, and you come through and I'll take the glass and that means you don't have to go on the floor with your hands and one thing another. So we did it. And Philip's got the photograph of me coming through and hitting Denny. I mean, that's
lovely story, Ray. Lovely story.
Crazy. I mean, he just stood there. I came flying through, glass everywhere, hit him on the shoulder, and went down with him. It was funny. It was very fun.
The first time I saw Denny.
Sorry, go on, man.
The first time when I was on the set and I saw Denny go through on the Avengers, doubling for an Irish actor, being thrown through a real glass window, and I'd never seen that before, and that was Denny. I mean, he's done some great stuff.
Oh, great, yeah.
Over the years. Just the courage of the man is enormous.
But what you saw about courage, I was doing a film called Monte Carlo or Bust. Do you remember that film, Ray?
When you left the Avengers to go and
I left the Avengers and you took over. Exactly. But what it was, I was out there in Sweden and I had to come down the Cresta Run in a car. Now, the Cresta Run is about 3 or 4 miles down, but we had spikes on the tyres. And I'm going round, and I remember Denny coming up to me just before I went. He said, Rocky, he said, I'll be on the mountain looking out for you. And I'm thinking, thanks, Denny. What's that mean? He said, well, I'll be there. Don't worry about that. But the snow was about 6 foot deep. So, I mean, so I've done the stunt, gone round and did it. Great. Everybody loved it. And Anakin loved it. As I stopped, Denny came up to me and went, you all right, mate? You all right? I was running behind you all the way. That's how much he used. That's what a diamond he is.
Yeah. First time I met Denny was on the Avengers when we were doing the Winged Avenger.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to be on the ceiling and I had to come off the ceiling and Cyd had to catch me. And the way we did it was Denny was on a trapeze and he had to hang onto my feet and then let go at the right time. And I'd never seen him before. He'd just come back from America and he'd got this sort of buckskin jacket with fringes on that he'd got when he was out there. I was well impressed.
Neil Howard.
Excuse me, 1 second, Ray. Did you see that? That kid? Doesn't she look like Diana Rigg there? Unbelievable. Go back to Cyd there.
Yeah, me.
Yeah, look, Diana Rigg.
Cyd and I did great things with Diana's fighting and everything. And as I've said before, and is in the Guinness Book of Records, I was the first person to bring Kung Fu to the screen.
Absolutely.
And if only I'd had sense enough, like I did later, to have shot it at high speed, like they did Kung Fu.
Yeah.
In a rig and Cyd in her boots would have looked incredible doing that at high
Oh,
speed.
unbelievable! Yeah.
I didn't think of that. I never thought of it. I just went ahead with Kung Fu. I remember when I took it to Albert Fennell and Brian Clements and said, we're going to do Kung Fu. They said, Kung what? No, why don't we stay with the judo like Doug Robinson did?
Yeah, yeah. Well, Doug Robinson taught me.
I said, no problem. I said, do it. I said, but I thought you wanted something new.
Yeah,
And they said, well, we do. I said, well, Kung Fu. So I got a demonstration. Cyd was at I found Cyd at the judo school. And she picked up Kung Fu from Chi Su. And we went ahead with it. But no one had ever heard of it until then.
I mean, can I say something, Ray? That what you told me, and I think if you remember, that Patrick Macnee couldn't put 2 feet in front of one another. That's what was good for me and Paul, that we could do more or less every fight scene, every walk that he did, because he couldn't do it. He was absolutely useless, but a lovely man. But
listen, he admitted it. He didn't want to do it.
He couldn't throw a punch.
That was one of the
like
things
that.
about Patrick. He didn't want that action. And that's why I came up with the umbrella thing and the panache, doing the panache. But he never really got panache. I brought a Frenchman over to show him a demonstration of panache with a walking stick. And Patrick was gobsmacked. I mean, but he could never pick it up. I mean, this guy was incredible with a walking stick and an umbrella.
Yeah.
He had you on the floor before you could stand up. I mean, every time you tried to stand up, you were on your back.
Right. Just to interrupt you, do you remember how you employed me or not? Because it's in my book. I've got a book out called Jump Rocky Jump, by the way. Sorry. And you're in
Not
it,
that he's advertising.
right? Do you remember how you employed me?
I can't remember.
I was down there doing a fight scene with Plummer and Richards or whatever. Can't remember the names. And there was a scene where the double for Steve, Mike Shane or something, his name, had to jump over the balcony of the stairs, land on a table.
Yes, I remember.
Kick the bars, and then have a fight. And
Yeah.
Mike Sheen, or Sean, whatever his name was, turned around and said, I can't do that, Ray. Rocky, you looked at me and went, yes. I said, can you do this? I went, what? Jump over that balcony, land on that table, kick the bars and have a fight. I said, well, I think so, Ray. I went up, over I went, boom, 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 kick the bars, over back. You went, Rocky, go and get changed. I said, what? You're now Steve. Go and get changed to Steve. And that's how I got the job with you. Do you remember that?
Yeah, but you were on my books before that because you probably don't remember it, but I was mates with your dad.
Oh, my father, bless him, yeah. My father loved you.
I first met your dad on a picture called Tales of Soho in about 1954, 55, 56.
Really?
When I first met your dad there, we were stunt men together and we did a fight in a nightclub.
Right.
Then the next time we worked together, we saw each other before. Then we did. All of you, I think, worked on the last one, the Titanic.
Yes.
Which your dad and I worked on A Night to Remember.
The one before, absolutely.
Dennis Moore at Pinewood, and your dad and I did the slide down the lifeboat table and fall off into the tank.
Oh God, what a memory you got, Mr. Austin.
Yeah, that's your dad. And then he worked. Well, he worked a few times, but then he worked for me when I was a director on the Avengers. He worked for me on the Avengers. He worked for me on the Saints. Not the Saint. Jason.
But me and you forget one little point. Paddy Ryan with me and you. Remember that?
Yeah.
Paddy Ryan.
Yeah.
Danzigers.
Yeah.
I was on the show, and you were the stunt coordinator. No, sorry, you were the second stunt coordinator to Paddy. You remember?
Right. And we had also Mo Kai Kai then.
Mo Kai Kai, yes.
Doc Easton.
Yes. God.
And the special effects genius, Gordon Baber, who nearly killed us all.
Absolutely. Have you wrote a book about all this yet, Ray?
No, not yet. Not yet. Too busy.
Put it in.
Too busy.
Oh, what are you doing now, Ray? Are you busy now working as a director?
You remember the Richard the Lionheart?
Yes, very much so.
Denny did a lot of those with me, with the
Yeah.
horses. But Richard, it was a funny story. There was a script called for a lion to walk through the castle dining room or whatever it was,
Yeah.
look at the bodies and then walk out the other side. Paddy, I said to Paddy Ryan, where are we going to get a lion? He says, he said, I've got a lion. He says, in Southampton. I said, what do you mean you've got a lion in Southampton? He said, I know this woman who's got a lion. So I said, wait a minute, Paddy, are you sure? He said, yeah. He said, it's harmless. He's got rubber teeth. He said, it's useless. He said, oh, but it's all right. So I said, okay. He says, and you'll do the body, you lie down, it will come and sniff you, and then end the shot. So I said, okay, which I wasn't too fond of lions. And so he said, we'll have to go and pick it up. So I said, how are we going to pick it up? He says, in your car. So I had an Austin A45.
No.
So we go to bloody Southampton and we're shooting. Max Barnell was the director. John Draper was the production manager who was going to pay for this lion. So we go down to Southampton and sure enough, this woman with a bungalow in the garden, she has a wire cage.
Stop it.
With this lion. I mean, it was the mangiest lion ever. I mean, it was really mangy. I mean, it didn't really look like a lion anymore. So Paddy says, that's great, lovely. He's telling it when he gave the woman £50. And he knew her well. I think he'd had an affair with her years ago. Knowing Paddy. And so now we lead it out to the car, which is outside the bungalow. I mean, it's like leading the dog out. I mean, it's a bloody big dog though, because it comes up to here on me. And we get it, we open the back door and we push it in. We actually push it in with his backside and we push it into the back of this fucking A45. And we now coming back to Tanzigers and we're going to shoot on the Tuesday morning. And we're going along the road and up front, there is an Air Force man with a bag on his head, thumb in a lift. And Paddy said, stop, give him a lift. I said, yeah, I said, you can't stop. He said, no, go on, stop. He said, no, it won't hurt him when it wouldn't hurt. And I said, no. He said, pull up. So I pulled up the side of the road and this Air Force guy came running up. And the front window on Paddy's side was down. And the guy came up, he put his hand on the window frames up there. He said, you going anywhere near London? And the lion rested his head against the guy's hand like that and trapped his hand. And the guy looked in and he went, ah!
Oh, brilliant. What a lovely story.
But that wasn't the end of it. We get it back to the studio and Max Barnell and John Draper, who was paying the money for this lion, said, that's not a lion. we said it is. We just picked it up. So he said, it doesn't look like a lion. He said, it's falling to pieces. It's old. So
He said what?
He said, it's falling to pieces. It's too old. And I mean, it didn't look very old. So they said, we can't use this lion. We've got to get another lion. So John Draper now finds a guy who's got lions, trains lions, and he brings it to the studio. They cancel the shot. We're going to do it next day. And we all ready to do this shot, and the guy arrives, but the guy who arrives is a showman. He really is a showman. And he's got the lion in a cage at the side of the stage with a trap door to let it through onto the set. Now, we're supposed to have shot it about 10 o'clock, but we still hadn't shot it at 12 o'clock. I'm dressed as the double to lie down. And I keep walking up and down in front of this lion cage, looking at this lion, and this lion looks at me. And the guy said, it's all right, but the guy's got blood on his shirt. He's a real showman. I mean, little blood on his shirt, as if he's been scratched or something by this lion. So I'm getting a bit like this, you know, it's getting a bit scary. I mean, I don't like this look of this line. The line don't like the look of me. So I got the Paddy and I said, look, we had other stunt people. Dinny was there. Les White was there. And Les White was the nearest person to double the person I was doubling. I said to Paddy, listen, I'm chickening out. I don't want to do this. I said, I don't like it. I don't feel right. I said, the lion knows I'm scared of it. I'm not going to do it. So he says, yeah, it won't hurt you. I said, bollocks. I said, you know. So he said, all right. He said, well, we'll get someone else. So I said to Les White, Les, do you want to do this? And they said, no, fuck it. I don't want to. So we called Jackie Cooper.
Oh.
On the phone, Jackie Cooper says, yeah, I'll do it. No problem.
Oh, it's jumper, yeah.
He comes down to chew it after lunch. When he comes down, he's got a gas fountain pen, what he's going to carry, lay on the floor with. If it touches, he's going to squirt the gas in his face. He's telling us all these things he's going to do. So I'm all happy. I don't care. I'm second coordinator. I'm happy. We get near enough ready time to do it. And Jackie said to the guy, he said, you sure this line's okay? He said, but it won't hurt you at all. Says the guy with the blood all over his shirt. And Jackie says, I tell you what, he said, my clothes, let's put it on a dummy and put it by the dining table in the hall and let the lion go and look at it and let's see what it does. So the guy says, well, all right. So Jackie Tuber takes his chainmail off and one thing or another and this helmet, and they put it on this dummy and they let the lion through this loop that comes into the stage venter. The lion snooks around, sniffs around, goes over to the dummy and goes whoop, and throws it straight up into the gantry. It won. Jackie Cooper says, fuck it, I'm not doing it. So someone who's half the size of the person it's supposed to be, the person he's supposed to be doubling is Francis de Wolf.
Oh, God.
Francis.
What a lovely story.
And so Paddy Ryan says, I'll do it. So I said, you're half the size, Paddy. You can't do it. He said, I'm bloody doing it. So Paddy Ryan dresses in the clothes which are too big for him. He goes in there and they let the lion in. The lion goes within 6 feet of Paddy and stops. And the cameras roll in Max Barnhill and it stops. Cut. So Paddy sits up. The lion's there. The trainer comes in, takes the lion back. The Paddy lies down. Like that. Then it comes in. The lion stops.
No.
And when it stops, it turns round and puts its arse to Paddy. So Paddy gets hold of its tail and pulls it towards you.
No.
He never got the shot. The lion was terrified of Paddy. They were terrified of the lion. It was the most stupid week of stunts I ever did.
Great story, Governor. Great story. Can I just say, you were great mates with Paddy, weren't you?
Oh yeah, Paddy took me in when I first came.
You and him on the Richard the Lionheart. You run it.
Yeah. We were doing the Richard Lionheart, the Cheaters, as well. We were doing the Cheaters with John Ireland.
How was he as a man? Did you like him, Paddy?
Oh yeah, Paddy was good as gold. It said, he was a drinking fellow. He used to love his beer and his whiskey, and so he would disappear every so often.
Yeah.
And you'd be looking for him, and it was no use finding him because if you found him, you'd get him into trouble.
Okay.
I had him on Superman 2, and there was all the guys in the bus when the villains pick up the bus and they throw it at Superman. And so I went in the bus, which had to be turned aside and thrown, and I was checking all the guys okay, and Paddy was standing up there, and I tapped his elbow. I said, "You got your pads on, Paddy?" And he said, "I haven't worn a pad in 50 years. I'll start now."
I can believe that. That's what he was.
He was.
You're right, Paul. That's exactly how he was.
Yeah.
He used to go out with the lovely lady at Danziger's who run the canteen, Woody. She used to give us our bacon sandwiches and all that. But Paddy was a good mate, a great Dave Crowley.
Can I ask you a question, Ray? I don't want to stop you, but from my point of view, did he bring you in the business, or were you in the business?
No, I was in the business. I came back from America And I came back with credit from Johnny Dayheim and Yaki Markanup, who Paddy knew.
Okay.
Johnny Yaki Markanup said, when you go back to England, he says, go find Paddy Ryan and tell him I sent you. And I went and
He was a big man then.
oh yeah, and
He was a big man in the film business.
I went there, and first of all, when I came back, I got tied up with Mickey Woods. And Jackie Cooper and I got tied up with Mickey Woods at his gym, and we were doing stunts for the BBC.
Right.
But when I mentioned Yaki Markanup to Paddy Ryan, I couldn't go wrong. Paddy said, come, let's go do a fight. So we went off somewhere on the set, threw some punches and one thing and another, some rolls.
He was a great puncher, if I remember right. Great through right-handers like you wouldn't believe, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He was,
and you.
Well, we had a lot of fun. And Paddy and Denny were the ones I did I think all you guys probably remember it. I did the hanging under a plane from Elstree Airport around over the reservoir and back to the airport.
Oh yes.
And a doubling I can't remember his name. I'll read it in a minute.
That'll come.
It was on one. I think it was one of the cheaters. And story-wise, the baddie runs for the plane. It was a fixed axle plane, and grabs the axle. And the plane takes off with him hanging underneath. John Crewston was the stunt pilot, Captain John Crewston, Paddy's mate, and the special effects was bloody. Again, Gordon Baber, the brilliant special effects man, because I said to them, my biggest problem was not taking off. It was coming into land because coming at 60 miles an hour with me hanging under the plane. So Gordon Baber said, oh, no problem. We've got a Chelsea boot, and the Chelsea boot, they put an eye hole in the heel and a Kirby wire through the back underneath of the plane, with an eye attached around the eye hole of my heel, so that after we'd gone over the reservoir and round to land, all they would do was pull my legs up and land. And it all sounded marvelous.
Sound is wonderful. I can't see that, but sound is wonderful.
But Paddy said it's going to be all right. Denny was there. And anyway, I want to say the guy's name. I can't remember his name. And I did the running behind it in 2 cuts, and then the one where they actually take it off. Up we go. Around we go over the reservoir, coming back to the airport, which, as you know, is just the other side of the reservoir.
Yeah.
And they start to pull me up for it to go, and the eye comes out of the boot. So my legs come down.
Oh God!
Hanging there. John Crewston has got the door off, shouting out to them, you know, he can't land with me hanging on there. We can't land with me. He can't land. So I said, shout back, hold on. All this was going on. And Crewston says, my stalling speed is 60 miles an hour. I will come back over the reservoir. He said, you're going to have to let go on the reservoir.
Oh my God.
So we came round over the studio, Dan's studio, over the reservoir, and I can see the fence of the aerodrome on the other side, knowing that we're not even going to clear the fence with my legs hanging down. So I let go. And I turned myself right up into a cannonball and went down in a cannonball. And I hit the water, I bounced about 4 times and went under.
Oh my God.
And Denny was there with a boat with Georgie Fisher to get me out.
Yeah, Georgie Fisher, yeah.
So I went under and I came up. And when I came up next to a guy in a punt fishing. And this guy could not believe it. He stood there with his mouth open with his fishing line.
Right. It's a film story, that.
And they used to have the Boreham Wood paper or something or the other come out on Thursday afternoons or something. It's an afternoon paper. And it got the front page on that thing from a statement from this guy. He said, and this guy was telling the story. He said, "I'm just there fishing." He said, "Suddenly a plane comes over. He said, there's a man hanging underneath it." He said, "Then he drops down right by my boat."
How much adjustment, right?
I got 250 pounds. 250 pounds for that one.
It's a good job you didn't land on his boat.
Oh, so lucky.
These are lovely stories, chaps. But this should be
And the
about
same-
the Avengers.
Yeah.
I was going to just ask Cyd, do you remember meeting when you first met Ray? Do you remember that encounter?
Well, yes. I was putting out feelers, trying to find out if I could get into the stunt business. And it just so happened that Ray was looking for somebody to double for Diana at the same time. And I came home, I'd been on a judo course, and I got home at 8:10, walked through the door. My mother was near hysteria. She was, you're too late, you're too late, you're too late. And I said, well, what am I too late for? And she said, you've got to ring him before 8. So I said, well, I'll ring him and see. So I rang and it was Ray. And we had a little chat. And he said, can you come in tomorrow to see if you'll do? And they stood me next to Diana and walked round and discussed our differences and similarities and decided that perhaps I would do. And then Ray trained me after that.
And Ray said to me, "This is Cyd, take her upstairs and show her some ropes."
I remember being at the studio once they decided that it was okay, I was going to be the double. And then Ray said, come on, let's have a go in the car. And we got in the Elan, it got like 27 miles on the clock, and we're going up the M1. And Ray saying, do you think you can drive it? So I said, yeah, I think I can drive it. So I thought, I don't know what he wants me to do. I've not been involved in stunts before, so I'm just driving it up the M1. He says, no, not like that. And we pull over and he gets in and he shows me what he actually wants. And, oh, right, okay. We'll do that then.
Handbrake turns and all that nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember with Cyd here, you and the car, Rocky?
Oh, right. I'm glad you remembered it, because I remembered it when you came up to me and said, "Rocky, we've got this car, and I want you to go down the road and do a completely spin and bring it back this way." I went, well, I don't know. I tried it and I did it. And I think I did it on the shot. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Was that the AC you did?
Yeah, the AC spin in a road, the width of the car and facing the other way. And that was down the Ray.
I was amazed. I was standing in for Cyd at the time, and you had to go down this little narrow lane.
The width of the car.
And you had to get it into the bushes on the side. And I'd never seen anything like it. You did fantastic.
Thank you, Paul.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
And
Paul.
I remember that, and we had a spare battery in the boot. And I didn't know there was a spare, because the battery kept going flat. And we had a spare battery in the back. And then with all this work that was going on, the battery went over and there was suddenly this awful smell in the car. And I'm going, what's that terrible smell? And you're just laughing.
Ray, I'm going to tell you one more, if you can remember. It's a bit difficult for me to remember as well. Is when I had to drive the car, I think it was Steve's car, yes it was. And I think it was Romo Guerrara had to come down the road, overtake me, and turn left into a farm.
Yeah.
And as you turn left into the farm,
In the
hit the
Jag.
post. Remember the post? And
In
I
the
carried
Jag.
on.
Yeah.
You remember the E-type Jag?
That's right. That
Is
was
there-
on the treasure hunt. Episode.
Dead Man's Treasure.
Oh, you're very good at that. I don't remember. I just remember Ray was there and I saw Ray's face when Romo hit the post. This is, by the way, an accident, which unfortunately things do happen in stunt work.
Yeah.
Well, may I tell you how I started doubling for Cyd after Rocky? I had a fight. It was on the Magnificent Seven. No, the
When I done my arm.
what was
Talk
it?
about when I done my arm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me do my bit and then you do your bit.
Oh, no.
No, only because it's irrelevant. Ray, I remember, I was doing a big fight scene, whatever it was, can't remember now, swords and knives and bits and pieces. Then I had to grab the man's arm, pull it in, and as I went like that, the knife went up and cut my wrist, if you remember, and blood all over the place, and I had to rush to hospital and and they stitched it. This is when Paul was standing in for Cyd. He came in, and now it came to Paul as being the double for you, if I remember. If that's right or wrong,
That's
Paul?
right, yeah. You'd had your accident, the blood was everywhere, and Ray said, you know, we had to stop shooting because you went off to hospital. And
Yeah.
Les Crawford was doubling for Maxwell, the actor. And Ray said to me, "You've been watching?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Get Rocky's gear on." And I got the gear
That's
on.
how I started. He said exactly the same to me. Go and get the gear on. I can't believe this was going on here.
And we did the flight. Yeah, that was my.
I'm only kidding, Paul.
And then when you went off to Monte Carlo or bust.
I went to Monte Carlo or bust, and you took over. I think Ray left and went to America or whatever.
Yeah.
And Joe Dunn took over Ray, if I remember.
Yeah.
No.
The story of that is that when Ray left, Jack Greenwood called
Yes,
me.
you're right. Laurie and Jack Greenwood were the producers. And
Jack said, "Come to the office." I came to the office. He said, "Ray's left, and we would like you to take over."
That's right. That's right.
And I said, I'm not experienced enough. I mean, I'd watched Ray do magnificent stuff. I didn't think I had enough experience to be able to tell other stuntmen what to do. And he said, "Look, we're all behind you. We'll make sure you're okay." I said, "No, I've got too much respect for the stunt industry to accept it." And he said, "Would you work with Joe Dunn?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Be fine." And I went back into the bar at ABP, and I was drinking with Joe, and the phone rang, and I said, "Joe, that's for you." And he went, "What are you talking about?" I said, "It's for you." And they said, "Joe Dunn?" I said, "Yeah. Would you go and see Jack Greenwood?" And off we went, got the job. So that was, if I'd done it, you know, if I'd have had the courage to do it, you know, become a coordinator earlier, I don't know.
Absolutely. And Paul, you've done very well since.
I don't know.
Ray, what do you think about Joe? What a great man, is a funny man, eh?
Let me just put this story straight. Cyd will remember, because she was with me most of the time because of Diana, but it didn't actually happen that way. I had to make a big decision in my life. Well, Paul knows this story because Paul and I talked about it when he was over here, staying with me over here with me. But I wanted very much to direct. I knew that I wanted to get out from behind the camera. In front of the camera. I wanted to go behind the camera very badly. And I got the chance to direct second unit thanks to Brian Clements.
Yeah.
And we went, and I had two doubles for Diana. I had Cyd, and I had Peter Elliott, who was going to do a dive.
Oh, God, dear old Peter Elliott. I remember, what a lovely man.
Remember Cyd, the dive off the board?
Yeah. What a great man, Ray.
And that was the first time they dared give me the chance to be second unit. And
was that the bird who did? Was that the bird who knew too much?
Yeah.
That was the first time I'd actually been second unit director.
Right.
Jimmy Davis was my cameraman, and we went out, and I shot that sequence and car run-bys. And in those days, and I say this now because I know we got an audience who's watching who's not asking any questions today. I don't know why.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will.
But in those days, for the audience benefit, we used to have to wait for the film to go to the laboratory, came back the next day, and it's shown lunchtime as called what we call the rushes.
That's
Not
right.
now we screen everything and everything's in the camera and we can
Cut it straight away, can't you now, Ray?
as soon as it's done. So we had to go next day to the rushes at APPC Boreham Wood. Well, I was too nervous to go into the rushes. So Brian Clemens and Albert Fennell and a couple of other people, Ron Fry, went to see the dailies. And after the dailies, they run second unit. So I stayed outside the door leading out back into the studio. He used to come down this corridor, down 2 steps into the street and across onto the stage. So I stayed outside that door. I was just too nervous. I think I'd screwed it. And after, suddenly the door opened and Brian came out, followed by Ron Fry. Their heads were down on their chests and they looked so glum. I thought, oh, fuck, I've blown it. And they walked past me, and then Brian started to break up and they laughed their heads off. And I said, you bastards.
Oh, really?
They liked it, but that's not the story. That's outside. The thing was then that they wanted to make me official second unit director. Now, and there was another person up the job as well.
Johnny Huff.
Johnny Huff. So it was between me and Johnny Huff, but I was offered it. And I had used Joe Dunn quite a lot. So I was, in my mind, it was my decision to make Joe Dunn stunt coordinator and me do second unit director.
Very good.
The thinking went on. I mean, as the stunt coordinator, I was taking home, without any bump ups, was doing stunts, any adjustments, about 350 a week.
Right.
And with bump ups for doing certain bits and pieces myself, I'd usually walk about 500 a week to take home. Second unit director salary was £120 a week.
Yeah.
So now I'm in this thing,
Yeah,
with mortgages and one thing and another, wives and children. What should I do? What should I do? I knew that I wanted out from behind in front of the camera. So in the end, I made the decision and I said to Brian, I want to take the job, and I put Joe Dunn in as the second unit, as a stunt coordinator. And that was the hardest.
why didn't you give me the job?
Huh?
Why didn't you give me the job?
You were gone and doing other things.
All right, it's a joke. It's a joke.
You had so many irons in the fire, young man. But
They wanted me because it would have been cheaper to have the double and as the stunt coordinator.
Yeah. Listen, I was only joking, Ray.
but it was a big decision to have to make, which thank God I took it. I mean, I've now shot 300 hours of television and I've retired. But
Have you retired, Ray?
yeah, well, I write still.
No, I mean, I didn't know you retired. I'm sorry, I didn't know that. No, I mean it sincerely. I mean, I haven't kept up with you. I didn't know that you actually retired.
Yeah, I've retired. I still write novels and that.
Oh, right. Good boy. I'm sorry, Ray. Okay.
But, so it was a great big upheaval for me to take that big drop in money. And every week for about the next 3 or 4 weeks, I was cursing Joe Dunn because I knew what he was going home with. And I was going home with just over £100 a week. Which
Yeah.
And luckily, Roger and Bob Baker came to my rescue, and he offered me a whole complete episode of The Saint, The People Importers. Was
That's right. That's right. I remember it. I remember that. Yeah.
That was the first whole show I did on my own. And from then on, such good, and I don't know what happened, but I
You travelled like a star over the moon. I mean, right. You remember that there was the Random Hopcut, The Saint, Avengers, all down at Pinewood, at ABC.
Department S. I did the pilot of the remake, the Return of the Saint. I did Black. I got nominated at the Cannes Film Festival for Black Beauty. The Professionals.
Oh,
I know, a very lucky man. And then the one show, the New Avengers, Targets, and Targets took me to America. That was the one that
fantastic, right?
Quinn Martin.
I'm so proud. I'm so proud. Sorry to bore you. I'm so proud to have known you.
Well, thank you, Rocky. But you worked on Targets, Paul?
Yes, I did.
I worked on Targets. Yes, yeah. It was.
Yeah, you did, Cyd, but Joe did a lot. Joe Lumley did a lot of her own stuff on that.
Yeah, I think I was probably on the first series. The funny bit I thought was when Jo decided she wanted me to double for her, and you didn't think that I'd do, and Jo wouldn't let it go, and she sent me off to her hairdresser to get a wig cut in a pearly cut, and then I had to go and she called me into the studio, and I sat in her dressing room, and she went down to wardrobe and found an outfit that she got a copy of, and we both put the dress on and went down on the stage, and she insisted that we had a screen test, and after that I could double for her, but she did do a lot herself.
Yeah.
Do you remember us getting her fit?
Yeah.
You said I want them fit.
All that climbing around that roof. It was a good show. Well, it took me to in America. Yeah, Brian and I went over to see Patrick in Palm Springs, and Brian had a meeting with Quinn Martin because Quinn Martin wanted to do the movie of the Avengers with Fine. And we went to Quinn Martin's office down in Santa Monica, and Brian showed him targets. And Quinn came out of the theater, said he liked the show, and he said, who directed that show? And Brian said, Ray Austin. He's upstairs in the waiting room waiting for me because we're going down to Patrick Macnee's in Palm Springs. He said, I'd like to meet him. So someone said, a guy called Fred Hayhern, the production supervisor, came and found me, and they took me to Quinn's office. Quinn said, I just saw your show. He said, I thought it was great. He said, do you want to do a Barnaby Jones? I said, pardon? So do you want to do a Barnaby Jones? And I was over the moon, you know, but I couldn't do it because at that stage I had to get back. But number one, I had to go back to do professionals. I had the second episode because I shot the pilot of The Return of the St. William Ogilvy. I also had a contract with Black Beauty. So I had to say no. And I also had a contract with Albert and Brian. And Brian said, we'll let you out of it, don't worry. So I didn't pursue it. And I went back down, we went down to Patrick's, had a super time, swimming in the nude and enjoying ourselves in the garden. We went back, and I had a house in Windsor at that time. And about 4 weeks, and I met while I was over there a manager and an agent, in case I wanted them, a man called Ronnie Leaf, who said he would handle me in America. I was married to a Japanese lady at that time. And I was in the kitchen in Windsor at Adelaide Square, and the phone went after I'd come back from shooting professionals. And the phone answered, the guy said, hi. I said, hi. He said, this is Ronnie. I said, yeah. He said, Ronnie, he said, I'm your agent. Yeah. He said, okay, you got a pen and a paper? So I said, well, wait a minute. He said, a pen and a paper. So I got a pen and a paper. He said, right. He said, I want you in Hawaii, he said, to shoot an episode, maybe two, of Hawaii Five-0.
No.
He said, then I want you back into California to shoot a pilot of The Sword of Justice with Dak Rumbo. He said, then I want you over to do Love Boat. He said, after Love Boat, he said,
that's where you went.
Tell me, he said, I've got 10 hours for you. I said, well, wait a minute. I said, I can't do that. I said, I've got contracts here. He says, shit. He said, I've never got 10 hours work for an unknown director. He said, you've got to get your ass over here. So I first of all, in the morning, I go down to the studio where I'm working. I go and see Bob Baker, and I tell Bob the story. Bob said, hey, he said, it's no contest. He says, you've got to go. He said, I'll
go, yeah, exactly. You must.
I talked
And
to
thank
Roger.
God you did, Ray.
So he went to Roger. Roger came and found me and said, you've got to do it. He said, don't be crazy. You've got to do it. Albert and Brian said, go. I called Sid Cole, who was doing the version on Black Beauty, and Paul Knight, told them, they both said, hey, you've got to go and do it. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I went out and never looked back. I've never.
No, absolutely. How could you look back, Ray? Ray, can I ask you one question, Raymond? And what do you think of Mr. Patrick Macnee? That's what we were talking about. I want to know your opinion, because I've got an opinion. I want to know your opinion of him.
Patrick is a scholar. He's a gent.
A gent.
Yeah.
Absolute gent, yeah.
An absolute scholar and a gent, as good as gold. Never ever had any problem. I was the only director that went out to America and used Patrick when he finished with the Avengers, and used him. I took him into the Return of the Man from U.N.C.L.E.
That's
I
right.
took him into Vegas. We did the Return of the Man from U.N.C.L.E. on here with Philip a little while ago.
Yep.
No one else who went over there thought of using Patrick. I used Patrick over there as many times as I could.
Yeah.
He would never, ever let me down once.
No.
Ever.
Lovely man. Lovely man.
Cyd, do you want to share some memories of Patrick?
I thought he was a lovely man. He was a very kind man, and he was very good for me. I put it in my book. He helped me. Belinda had gone through a little phase where she didn't really want me doubling her, and she wanted to do it all herself. She didn't realise that I was making her look good. She just wanted to do everything herself. And Patrick, there was one day when she put on an outfit that didn't have a double outfit for it. There was a row about having to wear her clothes, and there was a lot of bad atmosphere. And I remember sitting in this field where it was a beautiful day. There were flowers in the field, and it was a gorgeous day. And I was just so miserable. And I just sat there thinking, why am I doing this? You know, my money's been slashed because she doesn't want me doubling her. There's this horrible atmosphere, and why am I here? Why don't I get another job? And I must have been very quiet. And Patrick said, what's the matter, Cyd? You know, what's wrong? And he teased it out of me until he found out what it was all about. And he said, well, if I arranged for you to see my doctor, will you go? Because I couldn't keep up with Linda. She was dropping weight unbelievably, and I was starving myself, but I couldn't keep up. So I said, yeah, I would. But then I got nervous because he disappeared. He didn't then has to go off and work. And I thought, I don't know how I'm going to do this, because I don't know if I can afford it, because he's on different money to me. And I asked Jack Greenwood, and Jack Greenwood wouldn't play. So I went along and I saw this doctor, and he gave me all the advice and all the rest of it. And he said, oh, Patrick's paying, you know, and I thought that was just so kind of him, you know, and he said, and if you lose the weight, I'll give you a bottle of champagne. And I did lose the weight, but it was quite funny because I didn't claim the champagne. I went, because he said, come up to my dressing room whenever you want, you know, whenever's a good time. So I went up there and knocked on the door, and he opened the door, and it was, oh, hi, Cyd, come on in. And I went in, but I felt really, really uncomfortable because he was totally naked. And I didn't know that he was a nudist. I just didn't know. I mean, everybody else knew, but then told me, you know. And he's sitting there without a stitch on, and he said, you don't mind, do you, Cyd? And I thought, well, it's up to him. It's his dressing room. If he wants to sit around in the nude all lunchtime, that's fine. But I just feel really uncomfortable. So we had a little bit of chit chat, and I left. I thought, I don't want to hang around because I'm not taking my clothes off.
I didn't know that story. I'm sorry you went through that. I can only say that I understand fully what you're saying about Patrick, and that is Patrick.
Yeah.
He was a gentleman.
He was a lovely man.
And the nude thing was, he always in Palm Springs, he was always nude, never stopped. And to go with your story, Wendy and I had a nice, beautiful house in Beverly Hills, and Patrick was a friend, as you know, and he worked with us quite a lot over there. And Wendy was going for her green card to be a resident in California. Although we were married, she still hadn't got her green card. And Patrick, I couldn't go because I was shooting with Robert Wagner. So Patrick came in to stay the night with us. And in the morning, Wendy's in the kitchen making toast and whatever. And Patrick walked in, stark naked from the bedroom, straight into the kitchen and starts a normal conversation. Any papers arrive yet? That's a coffee.
Yeah.
And Wendy said to him, Patrick, you know, there's neighbours here. There's windows. She said, Raymond's going to think I've got a secret lover here and Raymond's going to go potty. No, he said, don't worry about that. Raymond knows me. He knows all about it. Don't worry. And he did that. Then when we had the house in Palm Springs, we brought a house in Palm Springs. He used to come round every other morning with all the papers because we used to call him Bits because he used to read all bits and pieces out the paper and try to give you all this information. He used to come round and between the front door and the swimming pool, he would be naked. He'd arrive with his clothes, papers under his arm, open the door, and as he walked across the room, clothes were going off, and he'd be up by the pool. And Patrick and Wendy used to say to him, Patrick, put some clothes on. He said, no, don't worry. So she took it all in her stride in the end, and we decided.
Yeah. I thought it was rather ironic that at the time he'd been voted best dressed man on television, but he didn't want to wear clothes.
Linda had to fall in step with it because when Linda arrived there, no different. It doesn't matter who was there. Didn't matter who. Queen of England there. Patrick didn't wear clothes around his house.
No.
But he was good as gold, and no offence to anyone at all. No one took offence.
No.
And he had no ego about anyone doing his stunts or doubling.
No, that's absolutely.
No, not at all.
If it made him look good, that was fine. He didn't.
He actually couldn't put one foot in front. He couldn't do it.
He was the same as Victor Mature. If he got to step up the sidewalk, he wanted a double.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, it's exactly the same.
I've got nothing but thank you, Patrick Macnee.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I loved working with Patrick. He was a gentleman. I mean, I've always said I'd love to do a movie with Patrick, Roger Moore, and Robert Wagner, all three of them.
Funny to say that. I want to ask you, I worked with Wagner. I think he was a lovely man.
You worked with Wagner with me?
No, I worked with Wagner when he came over here and did a thing here, Heart to Heart, in England. I lie. It was I came over with RJ to do Lime Street, and I used Terry Richards and Peter Brace. No, what I'm saying, sorry, Ray, this was Heart to Heart.
Yeah, that was Heart to
Heart. Came
Heart.
over to England, and
yeah, that's right.
Someone had to come off the bridge into the Thames, and I was the stunt coordinator that did it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But a lovely man. I was trying to say, I've met him. He's got a lovely man.
RJ's a super. Unfortunately, you didn't see him. Philip and I were doing one of these shows.
Yeah.
RJ WhatsApped me, not knowing that I was on Zoom. And he came on with some really right language in fun. And Philip's audience, and all the audience are laughing their head off. And I'm saying to RJ, I'm on television, you're on television. Hold on, be quiet. And he said, oh, you count, I fucking love you. And
what I was trying to say, Ray, as we're on the thing,
He probably didn't believe you.
I'd like to mention it because no one knows. When I had my accident, the Stunt fraternity did a charity for me at Pinewood Studios. And Wagner sent me a check, which I won't disclose how much, to say thank you, Rocky, for all your help with me, which I thought was absolutely brilliant.
Lovely.
Do you remember this, Rocky?
What's that, mate?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
What's that? Do it again. Show me. I've lost it. Where is it? I can't see it.
It's a newspaper cutting.
Yeah, it says Stuntman does it in style.
Yeah, I remember that. There was a group of us did that with him.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's nice, Paddy.
Yeah.
I did a charity thing for St John's Ambulance in Amtil. I opened the garden fete. You guys came down and staged the thing for me.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, I remember. I've got that newspaper cutting.
I photographed it today as I knew I was doing this because
I don't think I was there.
Yeah, you were. You're in the picture.
You're throwing the punch. Let me show you again.
Oh, I've lost it, Ram. Sorry. Raymond, why do you look so young?
Good living.
Are you on pills?
Oh, I'm a lucky boy. I've got a good wife who looks after me, Rocky.
How is your lovely lady?
She's beautiful. She was there.
Will you give
earlier.
her my love, please?
I will do. She remembers you well.
Thank you.
There's Rocky. Look.
Where?
Yeah.
Oh, right. You're right. God
Remember-
almighty, Raymond.
Do you
What a
remember it
brain.
now?
Raymond, you have got a brain, sir. That's where you've got to. That's why you've got to where you are.
Yeah.
And Raymond, that is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
It's funny. It's funny.
You're not in Los Angeles, Ray, are you?
No, in Virginia.
Because my stepdaughter is married to Daniel Dark. Have you ever heard of him?
No, I don't think so.
Johnny
He's, on
Dark,
he's Warner Brothers. He's in
Johnny
Warner
Dark's
Brothers.
son.
Oh, I know that. Well,
Yeah.
She lives in
Diane,
LA with him.
Diane Dark's always talking to us. We married Doug McClure.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I lie. Johnny Dark. She was Johnny Dark's secretary.
That's right.
Johnny
yeah.
Dark. Well, my daughter is married to Daniel Dark, which is the son of Johnny Dark.
Is Dark still alive?
No, he's gone.
Yeah.
My wife lives in LA, in the mountains a bit out of LA, with Daniel Dark on a lovely farm, and he's head of Warner's.
Good for him.
Yeah,
Good
I
for
mean,
him.
he's the head of Warner's in Leavesden. He's the head of Warner's in Canada, and he's the head of Warner's in Japan.
I remember frightening the life out of Johnny Dark. I priced a job at London Docks to fall off the bow of a ship. We could get knocked off the bow of a ship, and I priced the job when the ship came in, and I priced the job at £100, and for the fight and the job. And what I didn't realise is when I priced the job, the ship was full of coal. When I went back to look at the job, the 60-foot was bloody 60 foot out of the air. When I priced it, it was about a 25-foot drop. But once they'd taken all the coal out, we went up the week later to do the filming. The ship had risen all that much.
Oh my God.
And I said to Johnny that I wanted an adjustment. He said, no. He said, that's nothing. So I got him right on the edge of the prow of the
Yeah,
ship. I
showed him where to go, yeah.
around his shoulder. I said, what do you mean? Oh, okay. And they put it up to 150.
That's what we used to do, Ray, when the producers turned around and said, you can't call that, it's not that high. Bring them upstairs, show them what the fall is, and then they change their mind.
Yeah. It was, oh, God. We've had some funny times, a lot of us, I tell you that. Aren't the audience asking any questions, Philip?
Well, they sent me some beforehand, so I've got my list here in front of me. But of course, anybody watching that wants to ask some additional questions, please put them in the chat. I wanted to ask all of you, because you've all, aside from stunt work, you've all done some acting, sort of appearing on the screen, albeit maybe briefly. Do you all have a favourite in front of the camera role? Did you like that acting experience?
Let me just buzz in very quickly one moment.
Yeah.
Larry Taylor, Rocky's father. He was one of the first people to be known as a stunt actor because he was a good stunt man, good punch-ups, fights, and all those sort of things.
Bits and pieces, Ray. Bits and pieces.
Yeah, he looked the part, and the term came around, why not use a stunt man and give him 2 lines rather than get an actor and then pay a double?
Exactly.
He was one of the first people in London anyway that was known as a stunt actor. And we all, after that, became stunt actors in our own way. And we used to get a script to do a show. We were always going through the pages, seeing if we had a line with it. You know, but normally we didn't have a line, or you would go in and say hi, and someone would kill you. We were dead.
But you loved my dad, didn't you, Ray?
Oh yeah, I love Ray. And his brother.
Oh, yeah. But by the way, Jack Taylor wasn't his brother.
Wasn't he really?
No, they really thought because it was Taylor that Jack Taylor was Larry Taylor's brother. It wasn't. he wasn't even related.
Incredible.
They were just great friends in the business. Mate,
Larry was a good man, I tell you, a very good man.
thank you, darling.
And you could also rely on him to have your back. I tell you that now, because I can remember a few stuntmen who wouldn't have your back.
Well done, mate. Well done, Ray.
Back to you guys. Go on, Phil.
Yes, I was going to say, did you have a favourite? Did you like being in front of the camera as you? Would you have liked to have done more of that?
Well, you daydream about doing things like that, but I mean, I did little bits. Usually, if there was a line, they dubbed me because they didn't like my voice. Usually because they were trying to put me as some lesbian woman, and they wanted a deep voice.
Lesbian woman.
Well, I don't know quite what you'd call them now, but I mean, I was.
As a stunt.
Yeah, I did a bit on.
You could now be a man with a dick, or a woman with a dick. Apparently, I don't know.
Well, yeah.
As I say,
I don't think you'll find many women agree on that. Sorry, mate.
As I say, that's a big stunt. Let's leave it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I was on Minder and they dubbed me, and I was on Pink Panther and they dubbed me. Most of the things I did, I didn't have lines.
I love this bit. If I won't come back to me, was the Cybernaut. I did the Cybernaut. I played.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
On the Avengers, which only, I mean, I had a mask on. I didn't do any dialogue. I had to do a lot of acting with actors, and that was, you know, educational.
Yeah, very expressive.
Did you have to study the movements, Rocky?
Movements and what they did, and react to their actions. But I, you know, it was the director that did it all, obviously.
Did you see, Philip, by the way, that clip I sent you of me acting and stunting?
I did, yes, lovely, yeah. Thanks for doing that.
We used to get the script, and they used to cast you as a stunt actor, but we used to scan the script quickly to see if we did get a line or we didn't.
But you played many parts, didn't you, Ray?
Yeah, I did a lot of parts, especially on the scene.
Yeah.
A lot on the scene.
It was lovely, Roger, wasn't he? He put you in the lot.
Yeah. I did a part on, I think, the Baron. And I thought, I should learn about this acting business. So I went to drama school for 3 years, evening classes, and toured America and Berlin. So
obviously
we do.
Obviously, it didn't work.
No. But when I finished, and I'd finished drama school, and I played a little part on a TV series called Fraud Squad, and I never got, agents ringing up and saying, "Oh, you've got to be an actor." And I thought I could earn more money as a stuntman than I was going to as an actor.
That's right.
Right. Oh, he's just brought a great point up that I want to ask you, Ray, if you don't mind. Right. Agents. We was always told not to have an agent, because if agents took money off of you doing a full, it was wrong. Now, what's your opinion of stuntmen having agents? Do they have them in America?
No. I still think it's wrong that an agent should take money off a stuntman. You're risking your life and your limb, and they're taking a piece of their chunk.
So we're not wrong not to have agents at the moment.
It's not the same as actors. Actors, they're not taking these risks. And also, an agent's not going to be able to go in and negotiate a deal for you on a fall or a car turnover or setting on fire like you were. An agent's not going to be able to quote that. Only the stuntman's going to be able to quote that.
That's right.
An agent can quote an actor's salary by reading the script, what the part is, what's the second, third, fourth lead, but an agent can't adjust a thing for you as
But what you don't understand, Ray, I'm with you, because that's where I was brought up. I can hear Vic Armstrong's got an agent, Greg Powell's got an agent. All of a sudden, there's people getting agents and they're getting work, and I'm not working.
No, wait a minute, is that as a coordinator or a stuntman?
As a coordinator, yeah. They're getting agents.
No, that's different. I wouldn't object to an agent having an agent as a coordinator because he knows I've got a script to do for a feature, an epic, or whatever.
You've hit the line, not as a stunt man, but as a stunt coordinator, I can have an agent.
Absolutely, but
What
not as,
we had to stop, what we had to stop in the early days was stunt agencies, not stunt agents just for individuals. But
What Ray just said, I didn't realise.
You've got to stop that.
As a stunt coordinator, I could have an agent.
absolutely. They can then judge a salary because of the script, what it's about, how you're going to have to employ people, how you're going to have to work all this stuff out. Then they can put a price on that, but they can't put a price on you jumping off of a bridge.
No, I understand that.
Do you remember in the early days of the BBC, you had bookers. You would get a script and get a job, and the booker would say, okay, we're paying you £50 for this. And you say, £50 for what? Well, the stunt. I said, have you been on the set? Do you know what the stunt is? No.
So what you're saying, what Ray's saying, that a coordinator could have an agent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would think it's a good
And you
deal.
agree with that, Ray?
Yeah, I think it's a good deal. Also, the agent can go in and make enemies where you don't have to.
Exactly.
You know, but for a stunt.
Ray,
I
can
don't
you
see how
give
it
me a
can
good
possibly-
agent? Ray, can you give me a good agent, please?
I've never had an agent throughout all my career.
I've only had one.
And maybe I should have done, but I didn't have
I
one.
know Greg's got one. I know Vic's got one. All the top people that are working in today, they've got agents. That's my point.
Yeah.
Well, they I don't know how they've got it. I would think
Not as a stuntman, as you say, as a coordinator.
as a coordinator, and I would think as a coordinator, if they've got a good agent, they've got it through an actor. I mean, for instance, you know, you work for Harrison Ford, you double Harrison Ford, right? And you turn around to Harrison Ford and you say, I need an agent. Harrison Ford's the one who's putting up his name for the show. The show wouldn't be made without him. So you're going to get an agent. You know, I mean, that's the sort of way that will work. Scratch my back.
Am I talking rubbish? I think I'm talking right sense.
Yeah.
For
Right.
people like myself that need work.
I mean, and I wanted to ask you all about again, building on this, how it's like to get insured, being a stunt performer. How do you get that? Because obviously it's a dangerous line of work. You especially younger.
We have an insurance with equity.
When we started,
Yeah.
when we started, there was no insurance.
No insurance.
No, we started, but now we're talking about now. You have to be insured, and
We had to fight to get insurance. We had to fight to get a group, a register.
Yeah.
Because I remember I'd only been in the business a couple of weeks, and Ray coming up to me and saying that there's a whip round, you need to put some money in. And I can't remember his name. There was a man who died, who his speciality was really driving.
It was Keith Peacock.
Keith
I
Peacock.
thought it was a Keith. I couldn't remember
Well
his
done. Hey, what a great memory, Brad.
Yeah.
Keith Peacock, he did it on Z cars.
No hiding place, I think.
Or was it? He fell off a 6-foot ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it came backwards, and he didn't measure the boxes, and he went.
Yeah, he hadn't got his rig right.
That's
But
right.
that's what we used to do then. We would have a whip round for people, but there was no insurance at all. That took quite a while, and we all had to fight to get it. We had to get it registered first, and then we had to get equity to agree to an insurance scheme.
I mean, Ray, in your days, insurance wasn't around. Nowadays, it is very, very vital.
It's a different world out there now.
Yeah.
It's a different world. No one will have the experiences that we've had in the industry.
No way. No.
Never going to happen. Never going to happen.
No.
Also, I don't know what it's like in the stunt industry now. I've got no idea. But
No, if you came back in it now, Ray, you'd hang yourself.
Do you remember when we used to have to sign a blood
Oh,
chit?
blood chits,
I
yeah.
remember them, Ray, blood chits.
oh yeah,
Remember
I
blood
can't remember.
chits?
Who was it? Was it you, Paul, who said to me, just sign it because it
That's to
doesn't mean
sign
anything?
your life away.
Yeah, but
Sign away your common law rights.
if you read it, you'd never go to work again.
Right, Paul Weston. You can talk about the stunt insurance because you know a lot more than me about it.
No, the fact is that we had to the only reason that the producers took us more seriously was because we said we've got our own insurance.
Which we all have.
Well, you know, this is great. Then we don't have to worry. But what they didn't realize is that once you sign a contract under the umbrella of a company, then you are insured by them. But
Yeah.
because we said, look, we do the rehearsals and we're insured, they took us more seriously.
So hang on, Paul, what you didn't say was if it's your fault or their fault.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you have to be insured. A few years ago, I got a contract that said, Paul Weston, the outside contractor would be da-da-da-da. And I said, the outside contractor, what does that mean? And they said, oh, it's a new thing we're just putting in. I said, no, if I'm an outside contractor, I have to insure myself and my company or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not part of the umbrella of the company. And the first assistant had already signed the contract. I said, look, the buck stops with you. If you're as a contractor, you're going to get sued. So we got rid of that. That's what they would try to do, to not have the responsibility.
Yeah.
Very good.
As you know, I started my career off in America in the stunt business. And before the Stuntman's Association was formed, which when it was formed, I was a founder member, and I still am a founder member of the Stuntman's Association. I'm their honorary member now. But in those early days, the stuntmen in America really looked after each other. If anyone was ever hurt, everybody would dip in with salaries, even if it was at another studio, and that the word would be out, someone would know, and the money would go around. It only changed the legal part of insurance once we became the Stuntman's Association.
Do you believe in stunt insurance, Ray?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No. I mean, what I'm trying to say to you, didn't mean sort of put it that hard. What I meant is when we began, it wasn't. Now it is, and you believe in that?
Rocky, when it started, and I was lucky enough to get into the business, and I was infallible. Nothing could ever happen to me. I would never need stuntman.
Exactly.
It didn't even come into my head. Stuntman insurance, it doesn't matter. I can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's only when you get older and start to get some sense in your head that you go the other way. I mean,
Or you see it happen to somebody else.
Well, the first time it happens to you,
Yeah.
you think, shit.
Yeah.
No, I think it's when someone died in this game, like Keith Peacock, we all realised, hang on, what's going to happen?
Yeah, and Martin, is it Martin Grace who had the accident?
Martin Grace.
Yeah.
Me. What about me?
You.
Yeah, I mean, you nearly brought it there, Rocky.
I nearly bought it, mate. I didn't know I would still be talking to you today.
Yeah.
You see, and also you got otherwise a lot of the people that were badly injured and didn't know it, like Elf Joint, John Sullivan, people like that who were crippled. I mean, through doing bashed about, didn't know it. Years later, they found out that they were poorly. I mean, Elf Joint wound up in a wheelchair. Terry Plummer wound up blind. I mean, you can't allow for these things, but you can when you're young and you first listen. Anybody young stuntman now gets a chance to come into the industry, he's going to be infallible because he's going to get in. He's going to get his with the stuntman. He's going to be there.
Can I ask you a question? Only because I love you, and I know the answer. Would you like to be a stuntman now?
Would I like to be one now?
A new coming up stuntman now, knowing what you know.
No.
No, he wants to be a director.
Oh yeah, but you'll move on from that afterwards, like you did.
No, I don't think so. Well, not now in this day and age. The stunt business has changed. There's a terrible thing came out for all you guys called the green screen.
Oh yeah.
It's a shocking invention, man. A shocking invention.
Yeah. You do a 30-foot fall and you can make it 300 foot.
You
Yeah.
can do you can do anything with green screen. If you want to pay the money to do it, you can do anything.
I
As
only
I said, it's a different world.
Yeah, I only envy the wire work they do now. It's just amazing. And what
Yeah.
they, because we couldn't get rid of the wires,
Mm.
but now they can. So now they can do fantastic stuff against green screen, but bodies flying all over the place. And it just intrigues me, the technology of the wire work they do now.
Oh yeah, phenomenal.
Yeah, I like.
I remember 100 years ago when Kirby flew me from the Chelsea cloisters onto the opposite building in Chelsea, doing a fight with Paddy Ryan, and they flew me with this great big bloody harness on, and God knows what, flew me from one building to the other. I mean, but now you're doing it on elastic band. It's ridiculous.
When I had my accident, it was Derek Bottle. Do you remember? He worked for Kirby's. He was
Yeah. Oh, yes.
and Bottle started on his own, and he was flying me on Superman 1, and we couldn't get rid of wires, so we went down to a piano wire, piano cord.
That's right.
One piece of wire, and that broke, and I fell on my head, and broke my cheekbone. And but yeah, in those days you just couldn't get rid of wires. But
And also in those days, if you were doing a production near Christmas, you couldn't get Kirby because they were doing all the pantomime.
right, yeah.
What Paul's talking about now, Ray, do you know about, obviously you do, take 12 now, the wire, the rope, like a very thin rope that is very strong. You know about that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. Technically,
What's
equipment.
it called, Paul? The take 12, is it?
Yeah, yes.
You know that, Ray?
Huh?
Take 12
It's
wire. It's not
Yeah.
wire, it's rope.
rope. It's a really thin rope, and it's amazing.
It's unbelievable. It doesn't break.
I mean, do you guys find that when it comes to how safe you feel when doing stunts, is it down to the stunt coordinator you're working with? Is it a director? Are some directors more sympathetic and more realizing what you're doing, or they're just obsessed with perhaps the shot?
You said something there. Is it down to the stunt coordinator? It's down to the stunt coordinator and the stuntman. You work it out together. The stuntman has to do it. The coordinator tells you what he wants, and you tell him what you need.
Yeah.
Very simple.
You need a certain amount of savvy with the director, though, as well. I mean, I expect you remember, Rocky, when we worked on Pope Joan. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We were background action, and they'd got this giant convent that they'd built out of wood.
I remember.
And we walked over it. There was Joe Dunn and Rocky and me walking through it. And there were all these windows, and they'd all got fishtails for propane gas. And we'd said to the special effects man, how far out are these flames going to come? And he told us, and we'd got it all worked out, what we were going to do, exactly what the action was going to be and everything. And then they said, right, okay, stand by. It was night shooting, stand by. So we're all standing by, ready to go. And then it's right, light the flames, turn up the flames. The flames went up twice as high as we asked for. So the whole place starts burning, and the director hasn't called action. And he's having a chat with Olivia de Havilland. She's tied on her cross, about to be towed away by a horse. And we're still there. And the smoke's coming around you. You can't touch your clothes because your clothes are so hot. Oh, you were right by a fishtail, weren't you, Rocky? You had to climb over the banisters there. By the time they everybody starts shouting about, you've got to go, you've got to go. By the time they go, they couldn't use the shot because the whole thing was in black smoke. And we had a heck of a job getting out. I practically had footprints down my back from that lot getting out.
Do you guys remember when John Bryce took over the Avengers in the Lyndon Forston era, what it was like working with John compared to Brian and Albert? Do you want to start off, Cyd?
I don't remember John Bryce.
You remember John Bryce?
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah, it was horrible. It was really horrible.
He nearly buried.
Do you remember John Bryce?
He nearly buried us. We nearly lost the Avengers.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
We nearly lost the show completely. The show was down in the dumpers and it went out. In the end, they begged Brian and Albert to come back, and we started up again. But the Avengers was finished when John Bryce came in.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Absolutely finished.
Hmm.
I reshot stuff for one of his directors because I'd become a director then.
Hmm.
Anyway, John Bryce was not good for the Avengers at all. He may have been good for many other things, but it didn't work. I think he had personal things going on the Avengers.
Hmm. And what made Brian and Albert so perfect for the Avengers? Maybe some memories of those two. Paul, do you want to start us off?
Brian, as I told you before, and you know, at the risk of boring your audience, not boring out Rocky and Paul and Cyd, but boring your audience. I've said it once before, many times. The Avengers. Sidney Newman was the man who invented the Avengers. He was the man who invented the Avengers. Plus, he invented, with one other guy, Wilson, Doctor Who. He's a very clever fellow. But he washed his hands of it after the black and white with honour. And Brian Clements is a genius, or was a genius. I mean, he wrote such fantastic scripts. He had tongue in cheek. He knew exactly what the Avengers was.
You were great mates, Ray, weren't you?
Oh yeah, we virtually grew up together. You know, Brian and I, because we both were in
Lovely man.
But Brian executed excellent with scripts and imagination. Teamed up with Dennis Spooner, who was another one who was brilliant. But as I said before, Brian was the first writer and stroke producer in those days, with the guts enough to go where no other writer or producer had gone. And forgive me, Cyd, he gave women their balls. He was the first one to put women out there as leads, as people who could, a person who could take over the fight, take over the situation and run the story of the show and take the narrative. Other producers and directors always put the woman as the female behind the man, the backer up of the story. Brian took the narrative with all these women, Kathy Gale, Emma Peel, Tara King, Purdy especially. He gave her, she kick ass, Purdy. He made them the star of the show, and he wasn't frightened to take the story away from Patrick or Garrett Hunt and put it in the woman's hands. Yeah. He was the first writer ever to do this in the television industry. No one else had done it. That was
and made it work.
That's what made it work and made it so appealing now. You know, it's still so appealing.
Do you think that was partly why Cyd came into the fold with Brian being very sort of forward thinking, because there wasn't too many female stunt performers at that time, so it must have been quite interesting mix to have Cyd coming in.
Cyd was the first one.
When we first started, I had men doubling when we first started.
Yeah.
You know, I had men do it, but I still had one man do it. When I had Cyd do it was Peter Elliott, because I wanted a high triple dive with a half gainer, and he did it. Cyd couldn't do that dive. Cyd would have fallen off there. She would have gone backwards, sideways, any way you want, but she didn't have the technique to do that particular dive. And that's the only reason I used Peter Elliott dressed as Diana Rigg.
Well, he was an Olympic diver, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He blew it, unfortunately. He nearly won it, but he did a dive which he hadn't practiced. He wanted to show off because the person before him did a certain move in his dive, and Peter thought, to hell with it, I'll do it twice. And he did it, and he never practiced it. And he blew it. He landed wrong.
And Cyd, did you find coming into the Avengers, being a fairly male-dominated, crew and stunts, that it took you a little bit while to get used to it? And of course, these guys are very supportive, but did you find it took a bit of time to get comfortable?
No, everybody always made me feel comfortable, and Ray always told me exactly what I had to do. I would come into the studio and Ray would say, well, this is the script, this is the story, this is what she's got to do, and this is how you're going to do it. And then that's what we would do.
Let me interrupt. She learned and she understood, and she took what we gave her as lessons. She took it. That's where she came. She was brilliant.
Thank you, Rocky.
No, I agree with you. You didn't know about stunt work. We taught you,
No,
and
that's
you
right.
learned it. You learned it, and you were very, very good.
And she was
Right,
very
right,
tough
Ray.
to work with. I mean, she was, you wouldn't think she was a woman. You're going to have a fight. You knew you were going to have a fight with Cyd.
Exactly.
There was one.
You're gonna have a fight with a man.
There was one very funny time. It was on All Done with Mirrors, and we had Bruno Elrington, the wrestler, and Joe came up to me. We were outside in this garden. Joe came up to me and he was laughing, and he said, "I've got to have a word with you." And he could hardly stop himself from laughing. And I said, "What's up?" And he said, "Well, Bruno's just had a word with me." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Can you have a word with your girl?" And Joe said, "Why?" And he said, "Because she really grabs hold of me." And apparently wrestlers don't do that.
Do you guys have a favourite episode of The Avengers that you worked on? Maybe a favourite stunt in the show? Cyd, you want to start us off?
Well, I think probably Murdersville. I liked Murdersville because there was a lot going on. There was a lot in the story, a lot of action of all sorts of different kinds.
Yeah.
I liked that one. Dead Man's Treasure was another one where there was just a lot involved and it was good.
Because Paul, well, we had an audience member ask about Murdersville. So, Paul, do you have any memories of Murdersville in particular?
Yeah, yes. Several. But it was the fight with Paddy Ryan and Dinny and Diana. And I had to. I was playing a policeman, so I had to do a rugby tackle on her in the farmyard, take her down on some straw, and then Dinny and Paddy jump on top, and she kicks us all off. And because it was in the afternoon, and we've had a few pints lunchtime in the local pub there. So I tackled Diana, took her down to the floor. Dinny and Paddy jumped on, and while we were wrestling there, somebody broke wind. And so we all got up like really embarrassed, and I thought it's obviously Paddy or Dinny having a few bitters there. And she leapt up and she said, "Did you hear me? I just farted." Diana, she was so lovely. She was a lovely girl, wasn't she? She was. Yeah, I liked her very much. But yeah, I mean, any of those that we worked on, the fights with Cyd were great. I really enjoyed those. The driving the Bentley was always a pleasure, wasn't it? Doubling the clutch and going down the hills and having to overtake cars that you wouldn't normally overtake. No. Because you just didn't have the speed. But yeah, I mean, any of those episodes I loved. The boxing ring I did with the man, did I see, who was the man I saw you with? Yeah. In the boxing ring. That was great with Alf Joint and Fred Haggerty doubling for the actors. And we did a great fight in the boxing ring. But yeah, I mean, we've had some lovely fights to do that we remember. And they come up all the time, and we still get repeats for them, which is great.
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Rocky, do you have a favourite episode that you worked on, a favourite stunt?
Well, yeah, I've got to be honest. There was a couple. I mean, I must have done, I don't know, 50 or so. The two that come to mind, which one was on the other day, which I looked at, and it was the one where they were chipping in a quarry, and they pushed a thing all over me. All the sand and everything came down on top of me, and I was at the bottom of the quarry, and I had to get through the quarry, which I did. So I got through and then got halfway up, and then they tipped another lot over me, and I went down again. And that was very frightening because, I'm a stuntman. I didn't think I'd ever get out of a quarry with people putting sand all over me. But it was very frightening. And I sort of remembered that the other day when you came up and said, the ones that frightened me. That was the one that really did my head in.
How about you, Ray?
You're going back 58 years.
Well, yeah.
I did one of my most, well, the one I enjoyed most, I must admit, was a lot of fun, was one on the miniature train.
Yes.
Fighting Patrick on top of the train with Diana tied to the railway lines. It was a lot of fun driving that miniature train. But I think one of the hardest things I ever did on that, Brian Clemens was a bugger. He was 2 times he got me out. In one where I was actually a guy on the railway, and I had a sledgehammer, and the actor was Clyde Brooks. I had to try to attack him with a sledgehammer, but Brian wanted me. I raised the hammer above my head, bring it down, miss, and do a somersault and land on my feet with a sledgehammer. And I did it, but I had to practice it. I practiced it away from there, out the way. Someone else, I think it was with Les Crawford, standing by it was difficult doing with a sledgehammer, because it was a real sledgehammer, and the weight was the thing that took me over in the somersault. And the second one was to go head first through a manhole cover, which was 2 foot by 2 foot, from an Irish whip.
Oh, the old Irish whip.
And Diana had to give me an Irish whip, and I had to go head first from that through a manhole cover. You've got it on that clip.
I have, yes, good stunt.
Just going right through. My shoulders brushed the sides, but I got through there. It was pure luck, because I thought I was going to wind up hitting it.
Right, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How much do you think rehearsals count?
Well, you can only do walkthroughs for rehearsals, as you know, Rocky, as a coordinator. You can't actually do the whole thing, because if you're going to do the whole thing and you get hurt or it goes wrong, you've done the stuff. No one's going to pay you for that rehearsal. So rehearsal factor with me always was, if you remember, walkthroughs. Let's do it at half speed. Let's do it walkthrough.
I'm going to ask you the question. Do you remember that you asked me to rehearse with Peter Diamond up at his house in Elm Street, and I spent about a week doing a fight scene? If you remember, I don't know.
I vaguely do, yeah.
Right, I mean, it's a very vague. I remember doing it. I was there for like 3 or 4 days, and it was down to Peter Diamond that you asked him if we could come up to his house.
Yeah.
Anyway,
rehearsals are
what
important.
I'm saying is rehearsals, right?
They're stuntman's rehearsals. They're walkthroughs. It's like when you're going to do car stuff, you don't rehearse with the car. You walk it through, you talk it through, or you do it with models. Because we know where we're going to put the car. We know where we're going to exactly what we're going to do, and that's the only way to do it. Otherwise, things go really, really crazy. Especially.
And our main thing, Ray, is safety, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I remember Clash by Night. Paddy Ryan, Les White, and I forget who the other fellow was. There was one. Oh, I know who it was. Joe Wadham. In the Hyde Park Crescent, I had to take a police car up Hyde Park Crescent to the top and turn it over at the top.
Ray, your wife's coming behind you. I think she wants you to go to bed.
It's only 4:04 here. I've been listening to all you've been talking about.
May I say hello, my darling? I love you. You're a lovely lady. You're married to one of the loveliest stuntmen in the world.
Yes, he's gorgeous, and he's still doing stunts, even if I don't want him to.
You look lovely.
I keep telling him he's not getting paid anymore to do them.
No, exactly. Payment, Raymond, that's the point. Payment, isn't it? Payment for this.
Yeah, you don't do stunts unless you get paid.
Oh no.
He won't even do the garden, will he, Wendy?
No,
Wendy does most of the garden now, I tell you.
yes, it's my garden.
And Paul knows how big this garden is. He's been
And
here.
it's a beautiful garden, and Wendy does a great job.
He'll come over and do some gardening for you, don't worry.
We'd love to see you again.
Yes, I'd love to come over. As soon as we can, I'll be there.
Even though she screwed up your hat.
Oh, no, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
It was his daughter that screwed up your hat. I was mortified. She
Yes.
didn't put the postage on it.
I love that hat too.
Oh, well, somebody's wearing it. Somebody loves it.
Yes, I'm sure. But you're looking well. You're looking lovely. Is the weather good there?
The weather's been wonderful. Good swimming weather. We
spend our life in the pool.
yeah, it's,
Yeah.
lovely.
It's a
It's
lovely.
lovely to see you, Wendy.
It's lovely to see you too.
And you, Wendy, love you. Well done, darling.
You met Cyd at Trisha's house.
Phil, are we
Yeah,
nearly there now, Phil?
Yeah, I've just got a few last minute questions. If that's okay, guys.
Go on.
Okay.
Okay.
I was just going to say, bye, Wendy.
Bye, Wendy.
Would you guys say, in your experience, that perhaps the most difficult or the most dangerous stunts might be the ones that we as viewers wouldn't necessarily think were dangerous? So those that are a bit more mundane, perhaps the ones that you aren't overly worried about, maybe, that can go wrong and can trip people up. And
That's a Ray Austin question.
Well, the whole thing is, a lot of youngsters, when I was in the business, who wanted to create an impression, would tell me they were never scared and never worried about doing it. I can do that. I can do that. I used to stay very shy of those people, because if they're not worried about themselves, they're not worried about who else they're doing the stunt with.
yeah,
You've got to take care. You've got to work out what you're going to do. And if you don't do that, you're going to run into trouble. The most, and it's the simplest things that can go wrong. The simplest thing that went wrong with me was my own fault. It was on a picture of Brian's, which was the forerunner of the Dirty Dozen, which is a movie called Tarnished Heroes, which Brian Clements wrote, which was the Dirty Dozen long before it was ever made the Dirty Dozen with Bob Aldrich. And I worked on that with Jerry Crampton, who was the stunt coordinator, and I worked with Jerry on that at MGM. But I did this Tarnished Heroes, and I mentioned his name just now. Joe Wadham supplied a tank. There was a lot of army vehicles. It's supposed to be Germany, obviously. And he supplied a tank. And part of the story was that the commandos who landed wherever we were in Germany, Ernie Morris was the director, a British commando jumps up onto the tank. He throws a hand grenade in the tank, slams the lid down, runs. Moments later, the lid bursts open. The German soldier comes out on fire, falls onto the ground, dead, story-wise. So I was a second stunt coordinator, right? Paddy Ryan was the stunt coordinator. So I did the job because it was a good paying job on fire. So it's got to be a good salary. So I jumped that for myself. Luckily, I had Denny Powell, Georgie Fisher, and Les White there playing soldiers and one thing. And I had a lot of stunt people there. So I worked out a game with the Gordon Bloody Baber. I keep on about Gordon Baber because Paddy Ryan thought this guy was the greatest special effects man in the world. He was so much trouble. It's not true. He nearly killed everybody. That's another story. So I am in a German uniform. I have a thing called pet jelly on my uniform, which we use in the stunt business because it catches fire very quickly and gives a good yellow flame. So that was what we all used in those days. And I had this on the uniform, on the back, on the arms, some on my legs, none on my chest because I didn't want my face getting hurt. So I am now going to be in the tank, and I have a charge to set the pet jelly alight, and I have a smoke grenade, which years later were banned because they used to choke you. They were so bad, these bloody smoke bombs, that I had to let off first. The story-wise, Les White jumps up, throws the hand grenade in, slams the lid. I open up, come out, fall on the ground. We get ready to do it. Very simple job. Very simple job. Fire is a little dangerous, but you got it worked out. And Denny Powell and Georgie Fisher are there with wet blankets to put me out once I'm on the ground, because I'm out of camera. When I roll over, I hit the ground, I roll. And then they put me out. So we do it. I get in the tank, lids up. We come along this lane. Les White comes up, throws a piece of wood in, which is shaped like a hand grenade. Inside, once that goes in, I let the smoke grenade off. Smoke pours out, black smoke. It's horrible smoke. I hit the charge, and I'm on fire. I go to push the lid up, and the lid will not go. It will not go up because I hadn't worked it out. When you slam the lid, it took 7 turns of the wheel to unlock it.
Oh no.
I didn't know it. So I'm in the tank on fire with black smoke, trying to push this lid up before I realized I got to unscrew it. I kept unscrewing, trying. And the fire is getting worse on my clothing. Eventually it did pop and I came out, rolled over, and the boys put me out. But I wound up 7 days in Stanmore Orthopedic Hospital in oil bath and that because of my burns on my back and my legs.
Oh, Ray, I can only imagine how frightening that must have been.
Oh, I thought I couldn't see in there for a start. You remember those the smoke grenades they used to?
Yeah.
They were terrible. They're banned now because they really were bad.
Is that lid still the same thing? It has to go round so many times before it opens.
I wouldn't know now, but the one the thing Joe Wadham
Quite
supplied.
frightening, Ray.
Oh, it was terrifying. Terrifying. And every turn I pushed. I thought it was
Oh God, I can imagine how you must have felt.
And eventually it went, and the smoke came pouring out, and everybody thought it was looking marvelous. I came out.
Yeah, they didn't know. They didn't know.
We nearly went out of the camera because the tank was still moving. You know.
And I suppose there's no way you could have actually rehearsed that.
No, that's what I was saying earlier. You can't rehearse things like that. You can't say, "Oh, we're rehearsing. Set me on fire."
Yeah,
we're rehearsing.
Those are things that just happen. Those are things that happen without anybody understanding.
It was a stupid thing. I didn't pay enough attention. I rehearsed it by saying in there and talking it.
Yeah, cool.
I'm here. I press it. On fire. Go 1, 2, 3. I'll be out. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
I never ever got Les to throw that lid down. Never.
Right. I'm completely with you. Unbelievable.
It was a very scary thing, man. Very scary.
Has that been your experience too, Rocky? That something mundane suddenly becomes actually quite difficult?
What, a stunt?
Yeah.
Obviously, Death Wish 3 that I did, where I got burnt was very, very, very frightening. I was only supposed to go up there and going to be a little bit of flame. I leave the building and they blew it up. Well, they blew it up before I left, and there were flames like 17 feet high, 6 feet deep. And I realised that if I don't jump, I'm going to die. So I jumped for my life, and I survived. I mean, because I missed the boxes by about 3 foot and hit the ground and my side. So that's what happened to me, and I'm here now.
Yeah. How about you, Cyd? I think you had a couple of close calls with some cars on various things.
Oh, the worst one was on For Your Eyes Only, because I was the countess. I got to be run over by the dune buggy, and we'd worked it out, and we slowly sped it up. We worked out exactly what we were going to do, because it was a little bit nasty, and the fact that she's wearing a bikini and can't wear any pads. But we got it worked out that we thought it was going to be good for all of us. And then right at the last minute, when they've got the camera there and they're waiting to go, they changed the driver, and I hadn't rehearsed with him. When he came around the corner, he was flying. He was going much faster than rehearsed. But you don't like to mess around on these kinds of things.
Who was the stunt coordinator?
It was Bob, but he wasn't there, and they had the Remy Julien driving team. And I'd got the youngest driver was going to do the driving, and then right at the last minute, his elder brother pushed him out the way and said, I'm doing it. And I thought, well, I'm not sure about this. And if he's going too fast, if I can't do it, then I'm just not going to go. Because I had to dive over the car bonnet. And he was going too fast, but I thought I could do it. And I did do it, but he was going too fast. So it had like frog eyes on it. And I took one of the lights off with my legs and then broke the windscreen with my face. But we only had to do it the once, which was fortunate. But if we'd had the right driver, it would have been quite straightforward. It's just that you get these things happen, and you've got the adrenaline going. You just want to do it and get it done with. You don't want to be sitting on it all day and fiddling about. You just want to do it. So that's what happens.
And I think with you, Paul, I know you mentioned to me a while ago about the full body burn from License to Kill. I imagine that be your most harrowing experience.
Yes, it was. I was a stunt coordinator. I wasn't going to do it. So I had an American stunt guy who's lined up to do it. But the day before we were going to shoot it, he said, if I leave tonight and get back to LA, we were shooting in Mexico City. He said he could get a month's work. And I said, go ahead, I'll do it myself. So I had 3 minutes of air on a little bottle, and the tube comes up and you put it in the corner of your mouth so you can breathe in one side and blow out the other side. But by the time they put the mask on, you have to go on to air then. By the time the wardrobe put the mask in the shirt and got everything right, and they put the wig on the top of the rubber mask and got me on the set and stood me there, I reckon that 2 minutes had gone, but I got a minute to do. I wanted to do about 20 seconds of flame, would have been about right. I had 2 fire suits on, and we were ready to go. I was on air, and they said, okay, turn over, gel him up, and they gelled me up, and they said, hold on, there's a problem with the camera. So stopped, and now I'm sucking up this air, waiting for yes, okay, the camera's okay, we're ready to go, action. Woof, they set me on fire, and I fell over, got up, but I was out of air. I started trying to suck up air, nothing. And so all I had was what was in my lungs, and I had to do the rest of the full burn, finding my way along the side of the truck. Then I put some rocks on the floor where they had the flame bar, and so I could feel where that was. And then, because I couldn't see a thing, and then fell over that, but I was out of air. And lucky enough, they got to me and took the mask off, and I was, by that time.
Paul, it was a great stunt. I saw it. Well done.
Yeah. But they had to cut it because it was too horrendous. It was too long for the film. But there is one, the ultimate cut on that film that is.
I think you did great.
Thank you.
Before I ask my last question, Stephen had a comment for Cyd. He just wanted to ask you, did you manage to get to Perth for your daughter's wedding?
I did. I gave her away.
Oh, lovely.
But I haven't been able to get back since because of COVID.
Yeah.
And so we've missed the birth of our granddaughter, who had her first birthday.
Was that not Diana Rigg there? Have a look.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw Diana 2 years ago, 3 years ago now. I was in New York, and I went to see Diana in My Fair Lady at the Lincoln Theatre. And I sat with her for 20 minutes after the show, and we talked about the old Avengers and it was lovely. And I said I'd been over to see Ray. It was really lovely to see her. That was the last time I saw her.
Yeah.
Well done, Paul. Well done.
Yeah.
And the last
anyway,
question.
Are we nearly finished now?
Oh, yeah, my last question for you guys. Is there any other highlights from the Avengers briefly that you wanted to mention that we hadn't already covered, or have we kind of sort of been through most of it?
Well, I think we have gone through quite a bit. I mean, that's up to Ray. I'm sort of done now.
You're done, Rocky?
You can remember things. I'm done.
I think we were very lucky to be around at that time that Brian Clements and Albert Fennell were controlling a TV series that was so bizarre and so unusual, and it worked.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
And it work, and we were part of that, which was wonderful to be part of.
Also remember, we were the first television show to be networked worldwide.
Yeah.
It was the first show America ever networked worldwide was The Avengers.
Can I say something, Ray? Do you not live off of that one? You are the top Avengers man.
Yeah.
Avengers always comes up whenever I lecture or go on talks. The
You're doing
Avengers
it,
people always start. And the strange thing was, Cyd was there when we did the 50th anniversary of the Avengers at Chichester University. I walked into the auditorium there because they got me as one of the key speakers, and I expected to walk in there and find a lot of senior citizens who remembered the Avengers and one thing and another. And I walked in there, and the audience was 250 people. And when I looked up and the lights went up onto the audience, so I could see, most of them were all youngsters. It's incredible the following we had. And nearly all of those knew more about the Avengers than I did. I was telling stories, and I'd forget someone's name, and someone in the audience would shout it out. They shouted out the name of the episode and who was in it. They knew more about the Avengers than I did. I mean, it was incredible, the following we had.
Absolutely. Ray, I want to say I am so proud that I was given the opportunity to double for Steve through you, and the show, how brilliant it was. It was only down, the action was only down to Mr. Austin. That's all I want to say about it. I'm so proud to be your friend.
I appreciate it very much. The Avengers did us all good. It was a good show to be connected with. We'd never have any shame about the Avengers. It was a really good show.
You said nothing wrong.
I take it you guys have never worked on anything that felt so connected, so magical. I mean, obviously 60 years later, and we're here tonight talking about it. So,
well, it's difficult to tell young people today, if they haven't seen it, just how big it was in its day. It was really
show that was on television. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean,
people used to stay in.
I was around 17, 18, 19 or something. I was like a superstar in my little pub. It's unbelievable. Why? Because I was doing the Avengers. Can you believe it? Now, I mean, it's fantastic. Ray, I love you.
Love you too.
I'm going to bed. I don't care. I've had enough now.
Thank you. I just want.
All wonderful. You're all a very great part of my life, and I appreciate you all for making me look so good and giving me a great life, which I've had. As I've said before, since I went into
74? Hang on.
As I said before.
74?
No, said before.
Get your hearing checked, Rocky.
Did you just say you're 74?
I said, as I said before.
I'm 77.
No, hear me. Listen, Rocky, stop talking and listen.
Right.
As I said before. That's what I said, not 74.
Oh, you're not 74.
As I said before on this show, since I went into the industry, I have never been on a day's work in my life. Every day has been an adventure. Every day you've let me play with all these toys. I've never been to work a day in my life. I've never woke up and said, I don't want to go to work today. It's always been a great adventure.
Right.
If I had time.
I love you. I don't want to say any more. I love you.
Bless you. And if I had time, I would tell you another story, but we are out of time. So
right.
You're a phenomenal man, Ray.
Well, I just want to say thank you very much for everyone for joining us for this wonderful. It's been a real pleasure to talk to all of you. So thank you, Cyd. Thank you, Rocky. Thank you, Paul, and of course the wonderful Ray. Thank you much for joining.
Him, this couldn't have happened. So I'm so pleased you got him back, because this couldn't have happened without him.
No.
Absolutely, yes.
Thanks to Wendy's computer.
Thanks, Wendy, and thank you to Wendy.
I love you.
Yeah.
Give my love to your lovely wife.
Yes.
Okay.
Give her
Save
my
everyone.
And Ray, Ray,
What?
Ray, when you come over here, please come and see me or give me a call. I've got some lovely little pubs you'll love.
Okay. Okay.
Lovely
Okay.
to see everybody.
Well, thank you, Philip.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Yes, thank you, Philip.
Bless you, Ray.
Give my love to Dolly, Paul.
I will.
Okay. Bye now.
Thanks, Ed.
Bye.
Thanks, Ray. Take care. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Is that it? Good night. I'll say goodbye.
Yeah, all done. Thank you very much, Rocky. That was really great. Have a great.
Do we get a copy or do we see this?
I'll send you a copy of it and also the comments and stuff that have come in because people have loved it. So
Okay, last
thanks
thing.
very much, Rocky.
Hang on. I don't want you to go yet.
Oh yeah. I'm all yours. Yeah.
Is there any monasteries?
Afraid
Hang on,
not.
why are you laughing? I've been here for 4 hours.
You got 600. We only got 5.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to him. Is there any monasteries?
If I could, I would, but
No, if you
unfortunately,
could. No. I don't want if you could. I want to know, can you?
sorry. Unfortunately, it's for non-profit these events, and it
4
costs.
hours of us talking is non-profitable. Who's going to get the money out of this then?
Like, come on, Rocky, you know you've got to negotiate before you do it.
Oh, hang on, darling. I understand that. I have got things coming through the post now. Can you sign this? Can you sign that? They gave me a check yesterday for 600 quid to do photographs. He's now got me for 4 hours for nothing, which I don't agree with because I
But he's
think
not
we
selling it.
deserve. Hang on. I think we deserve a payment of some description. Has anybody discussed it? You're going to put this out. Where's it going to go? We need some payment. And I can't see you arguing with me.
They're going to buy your book, Rocky.
Yeah. Hang on, Paul. If you don't want any money, then you tell them.
I do encourage everybody to buy Rocky's book. As you can see behind him, Jump, Rocky, Jump.
Hang on. Phil, you're looking at me now. Look at me in the eye. Is there any payment here for 4 of us? I mean, little 300 quid or 400 quid or something. It's got to be done. It's ridiculous. This is what life's about. You're going to earn money out of it. At the end of the line, this is not for nothing.
I don't earn a penny out of this, and since I started,
someone else is.
No, nobody will make.
So who are you going to sell this to?
Nobody. It's
so you scrub this. This don't go out now.
It goes on YouTube, but YouTube doesn't pay me.
You've got to pay for it.
No, YouTube won't pay me anything. They don't pay me a cent since I started this.
So what you're saying, you're doing this for nothing.
I'm doing it for nothing, and it costs me about £100 a month to do this, and I've been doing it for a year and a half. So it's purely passion, purely love.
Promoting you, Rocky.
So you agree with this, Paul? Am I talking absolute crap?
No, if they were selling it on, I would absolutely agree with you.
How do you know they're not?
Because it's not that type of thing. Where are they going to get the money from? Where are they going to
You'd
sell
see it advertised if they were selling it.
And you'd be right to sue me if that happens. So and I would agree with you entirely.
If that happens, I'll be back to you like a rat of a drain pipe.
That's fair enough.
It's just to see you, Cyd, and Ray again. We should all keep in touch.
Paul, we're talking about the things that just happened to us. I'm getting 600 quid for signing fucking autographs. They're not talking for 4 hours.
I got all you guys together. You should pay me, really.
Yes.
I should pay you.
Okay, we'll send you.
Now he's changed the situation. He wants money off of us.
But,
See you chaps. Keep in touch.
Well, I'll see you at the memorial.
Yes, that'd be great. I'll let you know.
And Rocky.
Paul, I'll speak to you on the phone.
Yeah, take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Thanks. Been a great pleasure.
Cheers.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.